Hi everyone and welcome to Hel Tech MedTech for the first time online. Usually we should be at a physical place, but due to the current situation we'll be standing here in the studio instead. At this point I would usually ask you how many of you have been here before, but that's not possible right now, so let's just dive right into it. For those of you who don't know what Hel Tech is a monthly tech meetup organized usually at Clarion Hotel, but not this month. It got started back in May 2017, and here we are today with MedTech. We usually do it on the first Monday of every month, but due to some technical issues, we're here a little bit later, and sorry for keeping you waiting this time. My name is Kasper Henriksson, and I'm the head of Hel Tech. What I usually do is I work at Junction as the global head of operations, and I take care of Hel Tech for now. This event would not be possible without our partners from Digi platform and CGI, so a big round of applause to them as well. During the past month, a lot has happened. We've been sitting at home and staying safe. Otherwise, we've had a lot of big startup rounds, and actually Gubbe EO got a large seed round that was announced today, 300,000, so that's quite a lot for a seed round. While watching this, use our hashtags HelTech. You can find us at LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, of course. So, to get down to it, the first keynote of the night. Let's welcome Kaisa Helminen, CEO of Aiforia Technologies, to the stage. Voidaanko me vaihtaa? Okay, so we've got some technical issues, of course. I hope you can wait a few seconds while we check out what happened with the connection. But otherwise, Aiforia is a company that enables deep learning analysis of images somehow. So we'll dive deep into that as well. But if we could instead discuss something else. Yeah, okay, we can go live now with Kaisa Helminen from Aiforia Technologies.
Just a second, I had some technical issues here, of course. Are you able to hear me well?
Yes, we're able to hear you.
Good. How about screen sharing? Does that work?
Yes, it's working.
Perfect. I totally missed your introduction because for some reason I was dropped out. So let's hope the technology now works. But let me see. How about now?
Yes, it's working.
Good. Perfect. So thanks for the invitation. It's glad to be here. And very briefly, I'm going to repeat maybe what you said. But my name is Kaisa Helminen, and I'm the CEO of Aiforia. And we are really a deep tech software company working in the medical space and in more detail with medical images. And we actually do have a unique approach in this field, as for the first time we are really bringing the tools of deep learning and AI to the hands of medical doctors so that they can improve the efficiency and accuracy of their work. But of course, the big mission at the end is really to enable better and faster and more personalized care for the patients. So in this presentation today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our background, who we are, and about the market and what are really the pain points out there, and then how we are addressing those. And at the end, I'm going to show you some examples of the applications for which Aiforia is an ideal solution. But very briefly about the company. So we are originally a spin-off from the University of Helsinki, founded in 2013 by medical doctors and life science entrepreneurs. Today we still have a headquarters here in Helsinki, Finland, but we do also have a subsidiary in Boston in US. And we have also some people working from Netherlands as well. Altogether, we are a team of 35 employees today, and really a combination of expertise from medical field, from technology and software development, but also from the life science business field. Majority of our customers are coming from Europe and North America, but we just recently have also expanded our business in some Asian countries. But majority of our customers today are working in big pharma, in biotech companies, academic research institutes. And now the next step really for a company is to move towards a clinical diagnostics market. And in order to prepare for that, we have a quality management system in place for medical devices, and we already have launched our first clinical product for visual viewing of the samples for diagnostics purposes. So that's really the big direction where we are heading to. And the reason is that if you look at the slides, visual interpretation has really a key role in medical diagnostics in general. If we combine the X-ray analysis to ophthalmology, skin examinations, tissue biopsy studies within pathology, there's more than 8 billion visual examinations performed in the world annually. Our home domain is pathology, meaning the analysis of tissue biopsies, for example, related to cancer diagnostics. And that's where we have started. And that is sort of the first focus area for us. But having said that, we have already now expanded to various other medical imaging domains and also sold this platform for completely other industries as well. I'm going to talk a few words about those at the end of the presentation. But really, why pathology? In the field of pathology, there's a big need of improving the accuracy and efficiency of the analysis workflow. And that's really due to the fact that people are aging. There's more and more cancers being developed. Actually, 1/3 of us will have cancer at some point of our lives. And at the same time, many countries and areas seriously suffer from lack of pathologists. And that means that patients are waiting too long for their diagnosis and treatment. And pathologists are really in a key role in deciding who has cancer and what kind of severities that people typically think that pathologists are the ones doing autopsies, but that's not really, that's just a minority. Majority of pathologists are really analyzing samples from patients. And due to the manual methods that they still in many places are dependent on, there is a big risk for first of all slowness in the process and also for misdiagnosis, and that is certainly not the benefit for the patient, but it's also of course very costly for the healthcare system. And today there's a big need to improve this situation, but it's not only in clinical diagnostics, also in preclinical R&D, meaning drug development, vaccine development. There are also the functions that need this kind of efficient, quantitative, accurate tools. And that's what we are solving with Aiforia, which is really a unique AI platform supporting the needs of medical experts in diagnostics. And like I said, we have a different and unique approach in this field as we are bringing really the AI training tools for medical professionals so that they can rapidly automate their work and get quantitative results, accurate results from day to day, week to week. And this kind of a software platform really enables medical professionals to participate in the AI model training really easily and rapidly. And due to the technical advances of the platform and the active learning capabilities, there's really no need to label millions of images and spend a lot of time in labeling, which is, by the way, one of the biggest misconceptions in this area. But in fact, we have developed technology to make the training process really fast. And when the AI models to detect certain features or other patterns in the images are ready, they can be used to automatize image analysis tools, tasks for, thousands and thousands of images. Our platform is set up in a cloud environment, which enables, of course, using it anywhere, anytime, which is actually today very important due to the current situation in the world where remote review and diagnostics is more and more important all the time. There's already more than 250 AI models created for various purposes within Aiforia platform. I'm going to show you a couple of those in a minute. Here, actually, in this slide, you can see one of the examples. On the left-hand side, you can see a small image of and biopsy of breast cancer. And here, the task for the pathologist would be to count brown cells compared to blue ones, and just to assess the aggressivity of the cancer. And it's today in many places of the world still done manually. And of course, it's not feasible to count all the cells, but the pathologists need to give an overview and an estimate of a number of positive cells here. Whereas in the right-hand side, you can see the results image of Aiforia. And here we have first trained neural networks to learn how does a specific compartment called epithelium look like in a tissue. And that's highlighted in red color. And then within that region of interest, we have counted positive and negative cells. And rather than estimating this, pathologists get accurate measurements and counts of certain features. And it's really now, with this tool, consistent from day to day, week to week. You really don't need to worry about person-to-person variations, for example. And you can, of course, also save significant amount of time as well. So what does this really mean then? A patient comes into the clinic, sample is taken and prepared, an image is taken from the tissue biopsy. Then you can send it to cloud for automated analysis, but then the review can take place anywhere. So what we really can bring here is enable centralization of expertise, workflow efficiency, and really have a solution to this shortage of local experts or in general shortage of pathologists in a certain area. In our offering, we provide 3 ways to do this. Our customers can purchase access rights to Aiforia Create, which is a self-service tool. So your customers can train all kinds of AI models for basically any image recognition task they may ever wish for. They can also work with us, our professional team in-house, who can help them to do this and do this for them, in fact. And then we are in the process of bringing a selection of ready-made AI models for specific diseases that can be purchased off the shelf and utilized for certain diagnostics tasks, including big 5 cancers: breast, prostate, lung, colon, and melanoma, to start with. And at the end, with the trained AI model, one can automatize the analysis work on the Aiforia platform. So So from the technology side, we are really using convolutional neural networks here and training them how do specific features in images look like, and then automatizing that detection. So instead of segmenting roads like in self-driving cars, we are segmenting tumors. And instead of facial recognition or age recognition apps, we are detecting, like in this picture on the right-hand side, detecting malaria-infected red blood cells from blood smears. We also have regression model capabilities, like to automatize continuous values detection, and also are just about to bring instance segmentation application as well. If some of the audiences are more technically driven, we're happy to provide more information on that. The actual AI training workflow is rapidly described here. So everything starts from annotating the features of interest, then you train the neural networks to learn that, then you automatize that and can sort of delegate your work to the AI assistant. I was planning to show a quick video here. Maybe let's see if this works and you're able to grasp the idea. I just wanted to show you the user interface to understand what I mean with annotation and or labeling. So first, this is again the same breast cancer tissue image. With the user interface, one can highlight those areas of interest, like here, highlighting the epithelium part of the tissue. And of course, yes, you need to be an expert to understand that. And that's why this really meant for and designed for medical experts for their own usage. And here, another task here is to label those positive and negative cells with the object detection tool. You can do that with this user interface. And as everything is built on a cloud and a browser-based user interface, you can really do this from anywhere. Don't need to be in the hospital, for example. Then in the user interface, you train the algorithm, and then you verify yourself how well did it learn the features that you were trying to teach. And as said, the active learning component, the AI assistant also helps you in not labeling anything what it already knows, and just those features that it doesn't yet know and recognize, just to limit the not needed labeling, which is time consuming. But what kind of pathology tests can then be automated? Basically, all kinds of tumor detection, area quantification. One can automatize laborious quantification of cells. One can also detect rare targets, like previously mentioned about like infected cells that can be very small number in these huge images. I forgot to mention that what we are talking about in the pathology is really enormous sizes of image files, several gigapixel per each sample. And we can also produce quite complicated quantitative metrics, like counting distances of certain cells from certain compartments of the tissue, for example. There's already quite a lot of scientific proof done with Aiforia, so a number of scientific articles and posters are out there written by our customers. And at the end, I just wanted to highlight a couple of topical applications in this time. So tissue biopsies do not play a role in the COVID-19 diagnostics per se, but it's very much needed and used in drug and vaccine development. So that is just one of the application examples of Aiforia where it can be used. And in these ads, you can see a couple of images of lung biopsies related to acute respiratory disease syndrome, which is the disease caused by the COVID-19 virus. And we can certainly improve the accuracy and speed of the research projects by giving quantitative information from the histology samples. That is part of the research and development work in pharmaceutical companies, for example. Another application I wanted to mention briefly is the Hack the Crisis event, where a team of Aiforia members were participating a couple of weeks ago, and our team's idea was related to building a mobile app of not only symptoms and location data, but also combining it with the rapid testing and AI-supported analysis of the tests. And here in this image, you can see just a regular lateral flow test. And our point is here that we could bring AI-supported analysis of and bringing the quantitativeness to the diagnostic tests related to either detection of the virus or the antibodies. And we're now talking actively with the test providers to provide our technology to be included in the analysis, and let's see if these tests will become available for the consumers as well, or will it just be the healthcare professionals using these? But this is an ongoing initiative at the moment. But really, at the end, wanted to highlight that Aiforia is completely image and application agnostic. Various types of medical field images we can certainly analyze. But we also have customers in other industries and have sold this platform for, let's say, satellite imaging applications to some industrial quality control applications. In the bottom of the slide, you can see an image of a concrete block. And one of our customers is using Aiforia to detect air voids in concrete, just to give you an idea of a totally different space as well. And at the end, really wanted to highlight our multi-talented and multidisciplinary team. Not everyone is, of course, fitting into one slide, but just wanted to mention that we have all the software development and technology has been developed in-house, and also very much highlighting the importance of the domain expertise we have in the team, combined with the business development experience from the life science industry. And at the end, thank you very much for your attention, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Super interesting to hear about Aiforia, Kaisa. We actually have an audience question. From where/who do you or your customers usually get their data sets?
Actually, what we actually provide for our customers is a software platform where they bring their images to be analyzed, okay, and train the neural networks with their own images. That's the typical use case in the research settings.
Okay, and one thing that came to my mind while looking at your slides, how come you chose Boston as a place for the department?
That's actually an easy answer, because the East Coast is really filled, and the whole city is filled with medical companies, both in pharmaceutical industry as well as biotech. So it's like a dream place to be in. Okay, the whole Grandell Square, where our office is located, it's within a kilometer, you can find thousands and thousands of customers.
Okay, so what would you say that are the next steps for Aiforia? You've been raising a lot of money in the end of the last year, so what are you up to for now?
Actually, we haven't raised money since 2 years, but in general, we are currently in the fundraising process and really aiming to expand to the clinical diagnostics market. That is where the sort of the big fish is for us as well. And now the market is ready to adapt to digital pathology in general, and that's what brings AI component very much needed as well. And that's the direction where we are heading to next.
Sounds great. Thanks for joining us, Kaisa.
Thank you.
Next up, we've got the CEO and co-founder of Disior, Anna-Maria Henell, joining us. We'll hear about some interesting MedTech stuff here as well, but I'm not technical enough to actually tell anything about it, so I'll give it up to Anna.
Hi, so thanks for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here, as we talked before, so it's nice to get out of home for a change. So it's really nice to be able to talk to someone, at least a couple of people here around. So I'm Anna-Maria Henell. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a MedTech startup called Disior. We have an office here in Helsinki in the Meilahti hospital campus area. We are around 3 years old, around 20 people now in the team. Our kind of company is originating from a totally other space of industry. So we have nothing to do with medical imaging. We have nothing to do with MedTech as such. We are kind of technology-driven company in the first place. And we came into this field more or less by an accident, by being kind of personally interested in the medical technology and trying to help people and doctors to do their work. And there are kind of a kind of downside and an upside. So basically it's good to come from the outside to a new area, because then you have a different type of thinking, so you can actually generate something new that the others in the field haven't thought about so far. But then of course it's a bit difficult in a sense if you don't know about the customers, you don't know about the industry, how it works in the area. So there is a lot to learn. But more or less we came from another industry to this MedTech space, and it has been most interesting kind of journey for us. So what we do, so we develop software. It's a tool for clinicians, so surgeons and radiologists, mainly in the orthopedics field today. The whole point behind the software is that it eats in three-dimensional medical images, so CT scans, computed tomography, MRI, so magnetic resonance images, and it turns those images into numbers, so into data, which don't need to be interpreted in any way. They are just kind of numbers that you can read. And then it turns the images into high-quality 3D models. And those numbers and the models the doctors can use in the diagnostics phase for precision and accuracy and repeatability of the diagnosis, related parameters, in the treatment planning phase, in the decision-making phase, in the surgical planning phase, and in the outcome assessment, so how well we get actually the situation fixed. And that was a real problem of the doctors, because today all those images are more or less analyzed manually. It takes time, and more severely it actually is subjective. So the analysis is dependent on the person who is looking. So it's dependent on the experience of the doctor, the size of the unit of what he's in. So actually the diagnosis can be varying. The treatment decision can vary based on where you go to have your treatment. And the doctors wanted that everybody would have the same data that they can play with. They have the same analysis on the patients. They can actually develop more sophisticated treatment guidelines if they all have the same data and not just subjective interpretation of the images. So that was the whole basis of that. The second thing is that until today, more or less all those images from the humans have been analyzed in 2D. So starting from the X-rays, and even though the images are 3D in nature, they are still today analyzed in 2D slices. And of course, a human anatomy is not 2D, so it's 3D. So it's more or less a direction where the thing should go. And today, the problem has been that there hasn't been this kind of easy to use 3D analysis tools available for the surgeons or for the doctors. No 3D planning tools that are easy to use. So they are all really difficult to use. They need extensive amount of manual engineering work to get out a 3D model from an anatomy image. And now we are kind of fitting into that space, that we do this very easy to use and fast tool directly to the surgeons to use in the clinical practice. so more or less, where do the people use it? So first of all, in this diagnosis phase, in the treatment decision, they see from the data how much things are wrong, what is wrong, and they can actually plan in 3D, how do I fix this? And then after the treatment or after the surgical operation, they can check again. They take every time the image, and now they can check that, okay, how much did the situation got fixed? Is it now close to the normal values? And so it saves time. It gives people objective way to analyze the images, objective way to do treatment decisions, to do treatment planning, and it gives a way to actually take the evidence how efficient those treatments are, because there are a lot of treatments that are not that efficient, and it's hard to collect the actual data that how well did it actually work. And of course, from the hospital's perspective, it's efficiency and the cost saving, and most importantly, the patient perspective, so you get better treatment based on facts. So just as an example, as medical image is a kind of a fluffy thing if you don't see what it is. So this is what people have today on their desk. Those 3D is there on the upside, that partial 3D image. That is what a normal software gives you. So you cannot do too much with that 3D model because it's missing pieces, and it takes like maybe 5 hours, maybe 10 hours of work to turn that image into something that you can, for example, print or you can make a plan on. And then down there is a 2D image where they do manual measurements of certain parameters to see how bad the situation is. And this we turn actually automatically into a perfect 3D that you can directly print, or you can make virtual planning. And then it takes all those radiographical measures that the doctors and surgeons need to make the assessment of the situation. It makes them automatically for you. So basically the whole process takes like less than 5 minutes. And I was telling in the beginning that we come from a totally other space. So we actually come from the famous Nokia cell phone thing. And what we did in there was actually to make mathematical modeling and simulation of the cell phone. So we optimized the quality of the cell phones with mathematical analysis and simulation prior to any physical build was done. So here is an example of a virtual drop test of a phone. So we analyzed what happens if you drop it, if it overheats, how the antennas work, all these 3D phenomena of a phone we were able to analyze fast and accurately prior any physical build was done. So you can basically optimize the structures and save money and time overall. And this modeling technique is something that we now apply in the medical images. And most of the companies today, they more or less use the AI-based approach. So you take an anatomy and you teach the algorithms to find something, or you teach it to find anomalies or some specific features in the image. And what this technology is allowing, that you don't need to have extensive teaching with very many images to find something, because it creates a mathematical model inside the data set and creates an anatomical model based on that. And that gives us the benefit that you can easily scale it up from anatomy to another. So you can go from, we actually started from the maxillofacial, so the facial area where the 3D analysis is really important due to aesthetics reason and so it's kind of mainstream, the 3D modeling in there. Then we changed to orthopedics. First foot and ankle, then hand and wrist, because they are the most complex human anatomies. It's made of very many different parts, and you need to understand how the whole system works to be able to fix it. And the algorithms with a traditional teaching method, it requires hundreds of thousands of images to teach it to find something in the face versus to find something in the foot. And now, as the algorithms is actually taught to find bony structures. So it doesn't matter to it whether it's a head, whether it's a spine, whether it's a foot. So it finds its way in the system. And that is making the ability for our technology to scale up through different anatomies, which is not usual in companies. And also we have the technologies that can be applied from anatomy to anatomy. So in the lower row, you can see, for example, there is a fracture line detection, there is a joint space analysis related to arthritis and everything. So we can apply these techs and the features to all the anatomical areas in a human when they are needed. We also started on a research base today to analyze also soft tissues. So we're going first to the neurological structures in the brain and analyzing also those ones. I have a short video here. They have been presented in a couple of international conferences, and it's really kind of also a space where you can shine with the graphics of things now, because usually all the people are showing these 2D slice models, and now we can actually present in 3D all the anatomy in a foot. So this is actually a foot, a hind foot to be more precise. So it's the back side of the foot or the ankle. And there is a first analysis of joint space, which is usually a problem with older people when you generate arthritis, where all the joint spaces are kind of fading away and it starts to hurt when you walk. So you can create all this distance map for joint. Here is our fracture detection algorithm. It's again a foot from or a bone from an ankle. It detects a fracture. It knows how it should look like when it's healed. So it's making you an automatic, this kind of surgical planning, how much these parts should be rotated and translated to be kind of forming the shape in the end, what is most likely the close to the healthy side. The technology is nothing without understanding of the end users, what they want and what they need, and especially in the MedTech area, where the customers are surgeons and radiologists. So you really need to understand what they want. So first, even from the founding steps of the company, we had involved the top surgeons of the world in different anatomical areas. So we have people from the maxillofacial area, so from the head and neck. We have orthopedics, we have neurologists. So we work close by to develop software, what the end users are needing. And that is our most kind of important thing, because without these people, we are more or less nothing. And in the end, I actually listed a couple of things that start up in this medtech field, what we need to have in order to be actually internationally successful, because the problem is everywhere the same. The treatments are similar, people have their similar problems. So what you need to have is a really high quality technology, at least what we learned, because then you need to have something unique, because it's so competitive, the whole landscape is dominated by the really giant companies having a lot of money to do their development and research. So they really dominate the market, because the medical technology is really expensive to develop. It's very expensive because it's so highly regulated and so on. So you need to have something unique in the company, at least in our field, to be successful. So we have the world-class engineering. There is nothing without a validated product, so you need to have a lot of research papers, a research collaboration. You need to have really high quality analytics, because that is the key to everything. The data is actually the key to everything. You need to have pioneering partnerships with the best tech companies in the field. So it's not enough if you only do cooperation with hospitals, so you need to go with the industry as well. And of course, in Finland, the national support has been really great. And now we are expanding it from one small, tiny startup for Helsinki, so we are everywhere in all the continents with the top of the field clinics in the world. So that was it. Thanks a lot. Any questions? Would be happy to answer.
Superb to hear everything, Anna. We had actually a question from the audience as well. How has the corona situation affected your business? Or
it does affect it. It is more or less so that hospitals are now, all of them are concentrated on handling the COVID situation. We work in the orthopedics and in the elective surgery care, so they are all postponed. All the patients are cleared out from the pipelines. So it means that nobody actually in the clinical setting is now using the software or kind of buying the software. We do now a lot of research because all the surgeons, they are at home and they are pretty bored as well. So they have a lot of time to do research with us and assess the software. So there is a lot of papers coming out after this phase.
Okay. Well, you said you were old Nokia simulation.
Yes. Thing.
Thing is. So how did you kind of end up in the MedTech scene? How did you come up with the idea to kind of implement this same? Yeah,
it's a complete accident. Okay. So we listed like 20 options that what could we do, and I was thinking that this is something we cannot put to a waste basket. We've done it for 20 years with the very many hundreds of people developed this in Finland. And then I had a personal thing of becoming a doctor. When I was young, I was too lazy to go anywhere. So Otaniemi was the thing that I then went into. And now I thought that, okay, this is my time. I'm over 40 years old. If I go to med school, I'm dead before I'm out. But if I go to do something with the doctors on a tech side, so it would be something I could do. So that's more or less it.
So you said you're in all continents right now.
Yes.
What are kind of your next steps for the?
We need to get the regulations out, so we're now waiting for the finals of our CE mark, so you can then sell it clinically in Europe. Then we go to the America to apply for the FDA. Now we released the maxillofacial software and the foot and ankle. Now we go for the wrist and hand, and then we go for the neuro in the next phase. So we have a lot to do in the next year.
A lot in the roadmap.
Yes.
Okay. What's your funding situation looking like?
So we have raised a couple of rounds, and now we're going closer to the A round. So we are having Maki VC, Finnish very good VC backing us up. And now we just need to get some traction more, some verification still more on the software side, and then we go for the next funding.
Okay. What about recruiting? Are you kind of open or?
Yes. We are open for algorithms, software, so the UI development. We work on Unity, so you can create really nice graphics if you wish for that, and on the marketing as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Feel free.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
And next up, we've got the last speaker, or almost last speaker of the evening. We got Thomas Grandell from Etsimo joining us here in the studio. He's going to be showing us some really cool stuff, so stay tuned.
All right. The first challenge has been well successfully sidestepped, so I have managed to switch my machine. I'm Thomas Grandell. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Etsimo. We are around 3 years old. Our team is around 25 people, and we work closely with Terveystalo, which is our strategic partner and investor. Etsimo is using artificial intelligence and machine learning on top of health data and lifestyle data to deliver something that we call data-driven remote healthcare to the masses. This means that we are helping professionals, nurses and doctors, to provide better care, faster care by using machines to sort patients and to create something that is very close to customer-centric healthcare. Currently, mobile health has 3 technologies that are converging towards transforming mobile health. The first one is artificial intelligence. The other one is always-on health monitoring. And the third one is cheap diagnostics. Originally, we thought that the tipping point for mobile health would be in 2 to 3 years. But due to the coronavirus, the tipping point is more or less here already. And what we can do is that we can put the patient to do a self-diagnosis or a pre-diagnosis of their own condition. So let's say the patient here is wondering if he or she should see a doctor. When they go to our application or our solution that can be integrated into existing systems and describe their symptoms, we are extremely accurately able to predict and tell them what their condition is, what their care need and the urgency of that condition is, and what they should do next. The next steps can be split into 4 different pipelines. The first one is self-care. So if I have a man flu that started today, nobody can help me, I just have to sweat it out. Secondly, asynchronous care. So if it's a really clear-cut case, it's completely possible for the doctor to do the final diagnosis and write a prescription based on the data that we have collected and sent to them. The third one is that I need some kind of professional care, but not necessarily face-to-face. So in this case, we would connect the patient or the consumer to the remote care channel of our customer, be that a healthcare provider or an insurance company. And the fourth one is the traditional face-to-face consultation. But here too, as we know, with a great probability what the condition, the care need and the urgency is, we can bypass some steps that are normal. For example, if you have a twisted knee, maybe the first point of contact shouldn't be a general practitioner, but instead an orthopedist. And also, if we know that this kind of condition that you probably have normally would result in a blood test, we can send the consumer to a blood test immediately without first going to a doctor. After we get the final diagnosis, we can also do follow-up and make sure that the patient is recovering, and the whole point of this process is to get the patient back to his or her normal life as quickly as possible. In terms of coronavirus, the self-care thing, the first care path could be, for example, self-quarantined. If we suspect that you might have the virus, but you don't have any serious preconditions and your current symptoms aren't severe. If they get a little bit more severe, maybe we should alert your GP through the asynchronous care pipeline. Then again, if it looks like you might be needing some care soon, or at least medical advice, we can put you to the remote care pipeline. And then last but not least, if it looks like you actually need medical care, we would either send you to a COVID test or to a doctor. As our solution is built behind an API, it's possible to build different kind of interfaces that accommodates different use cases in different channels. The engine itself, it's fully controlled through an API, so it supports any UI, starting from web browsers, mobile phones, voice if you want to, and so on. We also currently have 757 physical and mental conditions grouped into 102 different diagnosis groups, and these include so-called red flag symptoms, which means that they themselves or in pairs are actually a sign of an urgent case that would require the solution of ours to do what we call an emergency stop and direct you to call 112. We can also use something that we call quick start templates. Those are something that I'm going to show you in a little while. but they can be, for example, I think I have the coronavirus, I think I have the common cold, or I think I have stomach-related issues. And by giving that signal of what you yourself think that you are suffering from, we can, with a few symptoms more, put you through to the right care. Also, it can be integrated into existing solutions, or if you want to, you can build your own interface in your own solution, and it can operate either on anonymous users or identified users. And you can integrate it both upstream and downstream, so it's extremely flexible in terms of use cases. On top of that, the functionality that we can provide and how you handle the results and how much of the results you want to show to the end user can be completely configured. So for example, if we suspect that the user might have some kind of serious condition, maybe we don't want to tell them that we suspect that you have, for example, some type of cancer. Instead, we say that based on your symptoms, we are going to schedule an appointment for you. Also, if we are not sure what you have, good AI knows when it doesn't know. We can configure how to handle risks, how to triage the patients, and how to put them on the correct care path according again to our customers' specifications. Based on something that we call disease prevalence, we can adapt to any market or to regions or to different vendors, big vendors, by this prevalence. And currently we have translated it to Swedish, English, German, and Portuguese. We are already a CE marked product within the EU. We will upgrade it to a Class 2 by the end of this year. And also we are a Class 1 medical device in Brazil. And as we knew GDPR would be coming, our solution is GDPR compliant by design, and the data is fully encrypted and it goes nowhere without the consumers or users' explicit consent. High-level architecture-wise, you see the cloud in the middle with the API, and on top of that you can build different user interfaces that integrates into existing service design, and you can either identify the consumer or not, and then the results can be pushed into healthcare providers or insurance companies, health record systems, and time booking systems. And now I'm going to be stupid enough to show you a few live demos. So what you see right now is the start screen of a professional solution built to specification by the nurses at Terveystalo. So when the patient calls in, the nurse adds a case, and I'm going to use my son as an example. He is 12 years old and he had a wonderful case of norovirus during the summer. So it all started with a fever. So I can pick fever, and when I have done that, you see that some of the quick starts that are below here are lit up. So it shows the nurse to which groups or which quick starts the fever could actually fit. And also it starts to display here in the middle pane different specifications that you can give to a symptom. So for example, in my case, my son had over 38.5 degrees of fever. So we will specify that. And as you can maybe see, there is the result of the assessment in the form of an anamnesis. So it's writing the anamnesis or pre-diagnosis for the patient as we go. And it also gives you an updating list of possible causes, here grouped in symptom groups or disease groups, and also a suggested care. But unfortunately it didn't stop with fever. He got extremely tired. So tiredness. And as you can see, it changes to a nurse appointment within a week, and we suspect a respiratory tract infection. All was good so far. After that, he started with diarrhea, which then again raised it to a disease in the digestive tract, or acute diarrhea. This is the main group, and then we have a specific group for stomach-related problems. And the final one was excessive vomiting, like that. So what we see here is the anamnesis text that will be integrated into time booking systems and electronic health records with the push of that button. We also see that we need to chat with a nurse. It's obvious because we're already speaking to a nurse, but if this would be a consumer solution, we would shuttle the patient to the remote care. And also we see that we have a quite a good probability for both the main group and the secondary group. And the secondary group contains norovirus right there. I'm going to show you the same case, but in another interface that maybe shows a little bit better how the system thinks. So again, adding a male patient, 12 years of age, and starting with fever, and putting in that it's more than 38.5 degrees. So what this one does is that it actually shows us how it computes or thinks about what the care path should be and how urgent it is supposed to be. And the same possible causes list is reflected here too. So if we add tiredness, we see that the shift was very small. We still think it's a respiratory tract infection or maybe an ear infection. And then we add diarrhea. And you see that we immediately got the digestive tract and acute diarrhea causes here. And chat with the nurse is the preferred one instead of the doctor's appointment, because if you have a contagious norovirus, they don't want you to come to the emergency room to infect everyone else. The last thing I'm going to show you is our experimental coronavirus version. So in this, it starts in the same way. So you enter the patient's age and sex and submit it. And here you have a coronavirus quick start. And of course, if you put in a serious symptom first, I have difficulties breathing, then you get an immediate doctor's appointment. But let's not go there yet. Let's remove that one and start with something a little bit more vague. So let's say that I have a fever and I have a headache. So we think that you have an upper respiratory tract infection, but we're not that certain as of now. So do I feel tired or sleepy? Yes, I do. How about experience difficulties with breathing? Nope. Mild symptoms. Mucous membrane changes? No. And as you can see, the questions are changing depending on the answers that I give in. So it's the model behind dynamically processing the input, the feedback that you gave, and rebuilding the model on the fly to better reflect the case. In this case, my fever wasn't more than 38.5. Do I have a cough? Yes, I do. Is it long term? No, it's not. Is it strong? No, the symptoms are mild. No runny nose, no swelling. And now we come to the questions that aren't actually directly dependent on the diagnosis, but instead on your triage. So how urgent is your care need now and in the future? So if I would smoke, I would have a higher risk classification, but I don't smoke and I'm not that fat either. And I have, fortunately, no chronic conditions. My symptoms are mild at the moment, so no. And I think I can cope at home, so I'm going to answer no to the question that do you feel that you can't cope at home. So now you see that based on what I have entered here, we still don't think that you have the coronavirus. But if I've been traveling in Uusimaa, I would add that, and suddenly there is a 60% chance of me having the coronavirus. And if I know that I have been in close contact with a person with the coronavirus, the probability goes up to almost 100. The point that I'm showing you here is that based on my age and my gender and not having any chronic conditions, we would put you in home quarantine and to check back with the nurse within a week if your condition is worsening. So this was actually my 15 minutes of fame. So if there are any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Yes, thank you, Thomas. Super
Thank you.
interesting to see that you managed to kind of use the current situation to your advantage in some ways. How long when did you start developing this platform, and how long did it take to?
Well, we started in 2016. We had a proof of concept done by the fall of 2016, and we founded the company in December 2016, and we have been developing it ever since. Building a medical grade software is hard work, so it has taken us some time.
How long did it take to then implement the coronavirus side?
Well, it's not part of the clinically validated solution, as there is no trustworthy test data, so we have made that in 3-4 weeks maybe.
Okay, that's cool. What are kind of your next steps? Where are you situated? And
well, we are planning to scale to Europe. We are already in contact with several promising customers in Switzerland and Germany and the UK. And we have also raised high interest in Brazil. So that's why we are now also a certified medical device in Brazil.
How come you're so interested in Brazil?
Well, everything is a coincidence nowadays. I was invited to, some kind of showcase trip to Sao Paulo by Business Finland 2 years ago. And I went there and I demoed my stuff in the form that it was back then. And everyone that I met said it's great, but it's illegal to use in Brazil. So that was a small setback, but now it's legal and the interest is still equally high. So,
okay.
So that in short.
Superb to hear. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you so much.
Next up, we're gonna have Patrick Holopainen from Kiuas tell a few words about the currency or what's coming up there. Welcome.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Patrick. I'm from the Kiuas team, and I'm just gonna share you a little thing. So, as many of you might know, Kiuas is a top quality startup accelerator right here in Finland, and what we do is that we take your startup to the next level. So, the big news is that this summer we're going to have again our Kiuas Accelerator program entirely online. Now, if you are an early stage startup, you should apply now. Why, you might ask? So, Kiuas Accelerator is a 9-week-long accelerator program where you get to meet not only other founders and get to be a part of the Kiuas founder community with over, I'd say, 200, 300 founders, but as well meet some of Finland's top serial entrepreneurs, investors, mentors, potential customers. And through those 9 weeks, we're going to take your startup to the next level by focusing on your product market fit, making sure that your team is in order, that everything just works essentially. And in case you're not yet convinced, Kasper actually mentioned earlier today that Gubbe, the elderly care startup, raised 300,000 euros as a seed round, and they actually took part of this program last summer. And if that is not motivating enough, we also have a video for you. But thank you, Hel Tech. This is all for Kiuas. Thanks.
A big thank you to Patrick as well. Thank you all for being here with us tonight. We'll be back on the 4th of May with something that's completely new in Finland and probably for the first time ever on stage, MedTech. So stay tuned to the Hel Tech channels for more information. Thank you.